So hey guys, today we have Karthik Imani and he's having almost 5 years of experience in Java, Spring Boot and microservices. So hey, hi Karthik, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Yeah, I'm also good. Shall we start?
Yes, we can start.
Okay. So can you please introduce yourself and your recent project in brief?
Yeah, I'm Karthik Mani.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Java backend developer. I have nearly 5 years of experience in Java
Mm-hmm.
backend, PLSQL, SQL, and Java. It features microservices, Spring Boot, Spring IOC, Spring
Okay.
AOP, things like
Mm-hmm.
that would be my technical stack.
Okay. And your recent project
My recent project was with Ford.
with?
I have experience in automobile and telecom applications. I worked for Verizon and Ford companies in US based companies in US.
Okay, okay. So what was your role like to build backend system, REST APIs
Yeah,
on all
yes.
backend system,
Writing REST APIs and writing stored
writing REST
procedures,
APIs?
triggers, SQL,
So
PLSQL,
which, I mean, which architecture, monolithic or microservices?
microservice architecture.
Microservices architecture. So how many microservices you have in your project, in your current project?
Around 5 years, five microservices.
Okay. Can you please name those?
So we have event handling, we have
Okay.
contract management, we have site
Okay.
information, and
Okay.
we have multiple schedulers which loads the data from different vendors,
Okay.
and we can either trigger the schedulers manually or we can use the cron expression, at the rate cron expression to make the scheduler trigger at certain point of time during the day,
Okay.
which tries to get the fetch the data multiple times if the
Mm-hmm.
service fails, and the data that is collected from the vendors based on that data
Mm-hmm.
we have to write the microservices to give the data to the front end, and in the
Okay.
front end
Okay.
we will see whether how what is the vehicle performance, like pie charts, graphs,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then we have each
Yeah, got
model
it.
of
Got it.
the vehicle.
Mm.
So
Okay.
if
Okay.
we have to add a new vehicle, then we have to add all the details. That facility is also available.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, fine. So moving to some questions. So, do you know how does garbage collection work in Java?
Yeah, garbage collection, when there is stack memory and heap memory in in Java.
Mm-hmm.
Heap memory will have the object that is created, and the
Okay.
memory address of the object is stored in the stack memory. Once the reference is
Okay.
lost in the stack memory, then the object in the heap memory is eligible for the garbage collection.
Okay. And what's the role of finalize method in garbage collection?
Finalize method is triggered whenever the garbage collection has to be initiated. We cannot
Okay.
forcefully run the finalize method, but we can use
Mm-hmm.
system.gc method to instruct the JVM to initiate the process of garbage collection.
Okay. Okay. So, can you tell me what algorithm JVM uses for garbage collection internally?
Internally, for garbage collection. Sorry, I'm not sure about algorithm.
Okay. So basically, JVM uses mark sweep, mark compact, generational copying. So these type of algorithm internally to work on this garbage collection thing. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So just one quick question on this itself. How can memory leak occurs in Java even we have automatic garbage collection?
Memory versus in Java even
We have automatic garbage collection in Java, but still we see in some places like memory leak happens. Okay. So memory leak in Java occur when objects are no longer needed, but still referenced from other reachable objects, and
the.
hence preventing the garbage collector from reclaiming their memory. So that's
Okay.
why, yeah, memory leaks occur. Okay, no worries.
Okay.
So Karthik, before moving on to the next question, do you know that we have designed a complete interview preparation package structured step by step, containing 16 PDFs?
I found that I know that the material
Okay.
is available. I got when I
Uh,
registered for
so
the
let me
Galaxy. Tell me.
Yeah, let me brief on this. It's basically a one-stop solution to crack any interview. This package covers core Java, Spring Framework, Maven, Git, Spring Boot, scenario-based questions, Spring Security, Spring MVC, Spring Data JPA, microservices, Hibernate, general Java coding questions, Stream API coding questions, and many more. The best part is that people have been telling me that they cracked their interviews with this material. There is a 99% chance that the interviewers will ask question from this package. So after completing this package, people, see confident in them, etc., etc., right? So
Mm-hmm.
post this interview, I will share a link with you to get this, and also I will
Okay.
add in the description of this video. Okay. So now
Okay.
moving to our questions. Is
Okay.
Java 100% object-oriented programming language?
No, it is not 100% object oriented because of the
Okay.
primitive data types it has. And
Mm-hmm.
we also have wrapper classes on top of the primitives, but still we have
Okay.
primitives available in Java because of the primitive data types. Java is not
Okay.
100%.
So because of primitive data types, you said Java is not 100% object-oriented programming language, right?
Yes,
Okay. So can you tell me what are the advantages of Java being partially object-oriented?
Java being partially
Like,
oriented, partially abstracted, or
no, no. You said Java is not 100% object-oriented programming language. It's partially object-oriented programming language, right? So
yes,
what are the advantages of Java being partially object-oriented?
we can make use of the primitive data types, which allows us for automatic memory allocation,
Okay.
and we can use those primitive data types anywhere across the project.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So basically, these primitive data types runs faster and use less memory if we compare to the that classes objects like full integers and these are kind
Okay.
of objects. Okay. So what's the use of object-oriented programming language in the enterprise projects?
By making, we can create an instance of the class by making use of the objects.
Okay.
We,
Okay. Okay. And do you know about singleton class?
yeah, I know about singleton class, which has a private constructor and
Okay.
a private final variable, and we have a public
Okay.
static method, get instance method, to create the instance of the, to call the constructor and create a private instance of the class.
Okay. So how can we create the singleton class?
We can create the singleton class by declaring the constructor as private,
Mm-hmm.
and we can make it thread safe also by making the get instance method as synchronized, and we can check whether
Okay.
the object, before creating the object, we can check whether the object is null or not. When the object is not
Okay.
null, the same object that was created earlier will be written every time it is
Okay.
called.
And what about finally, static, role in this singleton class? First, we will make constructor as private, right?
Yes,
Okay. Next, we have to create a private static instance of the class. And finally, we have to provide static method.
yes.
Okay. So are these singleton classes thread safe?
Yeah, we can make the singleton class thread safe by making the public static get instance method as synchronized.
Okay.
By default, it is not thread safe. We
Okay.
have lazy
We have
initialization and
this.
we have eager
Hmm.
initialization. In lazy
Okay.
initialization, we declare a final variable and we directly call the private constructor. But in case
Okay.
of eager initialization, we check whether the instance is null or not. Then only we
Hmm.
will call the constructor and create an instance.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so singleton, you said right, singleton classes are not thread safe by default. If
Mhm.
multiple threads try to create an instance at the same time, it could result in multiple instances. To prevent this, we can synchronize the method that creates the instance or use a static initializer.
Yes.
So yes. So what does immutability mean in Java?
Immutability means whenever the object is created, that object is not allowed to be manipulated, even if we want to append or prepend the object that is created.
Okay.
it will check whether the object is available or available in the string constant pool in the heap
Mm-hmm.
memory or not. If it is available, it shares the same reference. If it is not available, it will create a new object and shares the
Okay.
new reference of that particular object. Even though
Okay.
even when the shared resources are
Mm-hmm.
trying to access the same object,
Okay.
the object will not be manipulated in the string
Okay.
constant.
So in short, we it cannot be changed, right?
Yes.
Okay. So why immutability objects are useful for concurrent programming?
When multiple threads are trying to access a shared resource, there is a possibility
Uh-huh.
that concurrent modification can be occurred. In order to prevent
Okay.
that, we can make use of the strings are widely used in Java. So
Mm-hmm.
by making the object as object immutable, the manipulation on that shared resource is not allowed.
Okay. So you mean because they can be shared between threads without needing synchronization is what you
Yes.
mean? Okay. Yeah. So what are immutable classes?
String is a immutable class, and we have string buffer and string builder, which are mutable.
Mm-hmm.
String buffer is
Okay.
thread safe.
Okay.
String builder is not thread safe.
Okay. Okay. So how can we create immutable class?
We can create a customized immutable class by declaring the class as final, and we can
Mm-hmm.
only declare the getter methods inside the class, but not the setter methods. And
Okay.
every data member that is declared inside the class, we can declare it as as a final constant, so that the class
Mm-hmm.
will be immutable.
Okay. Hmm. So you mean first we need to declare a class as a final, so it cannot be extended, right?
Yes.
And then we have to make all the fields private so that direct access is not allowed. And
Mm-hmm.
then we don't have to provide setter methods for variables.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the end, we have to initialize all the fields using a constructor method. That's how we create immutable class. That's what you mean, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, okay, nice. So, yeah, moving ahead, what is functional interfaces?
Yeah, functional interface is introduced in the Java 8. Which can have only one abstract method, and
Okay,
which is useful for creating a lambda expression. A functional
okay,
interface can have any number of static, private, and default methods,
mm-hmm,
but it should have only one abstract method, which can be
okay,
useful for implementing the lambda expression against it.
okay, okay. So, can functional interface extend another interface?
Yes, an inheritance is allowed in case of functional interface. When one functional interface is extending another functional interface, the child
Mm-hmm,
interface cannot have another abstract method, because the parent in a abstract method is already available and inherited to the
mm-hmm,
child functional interface. Either we can use the same method name, and we can try to
okay,
override the method, but we cannot have another abstract method, but we can still have any number of static, private, and default methods inside the child functional interface.
okay, okay. So, can we create a server in Java application without creating Spring or any other framework? Without
Sorry, could you
working on
please
any?
repeat the question?
Can we create a server in Java application without creating Spring or any other framework? I mean, without taking help by any Spring framework or any other framework. Can we create server in Java application?
In Spring Boot, we have embedded Tomcat server inside it. We can deploy and we can test our application on that server. If any other server has to be configured, then we have to make some configuration changes and do the
Mm-hmm.
and have the another server setup like
Okay.
JBoss or
No, no.
JT.
So is my voice clear?
Yes, your voice is clear.
Okay. So like my question is, let's say if I don't want to use any Spring functionality, Spring Boot functionality, or any other framework functionalities, right? I just want to work on core Java. Okay. And how? Just my question is, how can I create a server in core Java in Java application, like without taking help of any? framework, Spring Boot, any framework?
By default, we are able to write a program and run it in core
Mm-hmm.
Java, even
Mm-hmm.
without that. Java itself can help execute the program,
Okay.
starting the execution from the main method, but I'm not sure whether that can be called as a server or
Okay. So yeah, yes, we can create a server in Java application without using any these frameworks. What we can do is we can use Java SE APIs. Okay. So they provide some server socket class for a simple TCP server, or we can use HTTP server class for HTTP services.
not. Okay.
Okay. Uh, yes. So moving ahead. As you know, you have already worked on Spring Boot applications. So I just want to know what's the difference between REST controller and controller annotation.
So when we annotate the class with the rate controller, the services
Uh-huh.
that we get inside controller is
Mm-hmm.
treated as a basic web service. But when we
Okay.
annotate the class with the rate REST controller,
Uh,
will be considered as the services that we write inside the class will become RESTful web services.
okay. Okay. So in which scenario would you preferred one over the other?
For data exchange, when I have to create a Spring Boot applications where I have to make use of the HTTP methods available, and we have
Okay.
to integrate the application with with the other frameworks like Angular or React, I would
Mm-hmm.
prefer the RESTful web services. But when I'm trying to create a bundled project where the web design is also part of the backend project by using JSP or JSF, in that case we can
Okay.
use at the rate REST controller where a web service will make sense.
Okay. Okay. So is it possible to combine controller and REST controller annotation functionalities in a single controller?
So I never tried that.
Okay. So yes, in a controller class, you can use response body on a specific method to achieve REST controller behavior.
Mhm.
For example, in the main class, we can use simple controller annotation, and on the specific method where we are returning JSON or other data, we can put response body. So response body is nothing but a part of REST controller annotation.
Okay.
Yeah. So how auto configuration play an important role in Spring Boot application?
So in Spring Boot, when we say at the rate Spring Boot application, it is a combination of auto configuration, enable
Mm-hmm.
auto configuration, and
Okay.
component scan. When we say
Okay.
auto configuration, whenever we try to add a dependency or whenever we try to integrate a third party, who want to
Mm-hmm.
make a third party dependency available in the Spring Boot project, then we can add that specific dependency. By adding the dependency either in
Okay.
the pom.xml or build.gradle based on the build tool we are using, whether Maven or Gradle. That the
Okay.
specific jar files will be downloaded into the external libraries where we can make use,
Mm-hmm.
where the classes and interfaces and methods of that jar files will be available in the Spring Boot application. This
Okay.
configuration will be done automatically in Spring Boot. For
Mm-hmm.
bean configuration also, when we mark the classes as component service, that bean will be added to the IOC container, which will be either
Okay.
bean factory or the application context. The bean
Mm-hmm.
will be available for auto wiring. This
Mm-hmm.
this is this is where the auto configuration is done in the Spring Boot. But back in the
Mm-hmm.
Spring, we have to make few changes in the web.xml or spring.xml file for creation of the
Mm-hmm.
beans.
Okay.
But that is done automatically in the Spring Boot.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So can we customize a specific auto configuration in Spring Boot?
Yes, we can customize
How?
specific. I'm not sure.
Uh, you know?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a
So,
Ruby.
yes, we can customize specific auto configuration in Spring Boot. So basically, it allows overriding particular aspects of its auto configuration through properties in the application.properties or YAML file, annotate with annotations like configuration properties, or by defining our own bean method that provides specific configuration. So if Spring Boot detects a custom bean or property, it will use that instead of default auto configuration bean. So this flexibility enables us to like tweak the auto-configured beans to suit our needs and providing a quick and convenient way. So that's how we can customize auto configuration. Okay, so now we understood about custom auto configuration. So how can you disable specific auto configuration class in Spring Boot? Let's say
Okay,
if we need some class to be disabled for auto configuration, so how can we do that?
we shouldn't be marking that specific class as a at component or at service. In that case, the bean will not be created in the IOC container and it will not be available for auto configuration.
Okay. Mm, okay. So I think to disable specific auto configuration classes in Spring Boot, we can exclude the attributes enable auto configuration and all,
Okay, we
something
can
like that.
exclude that specific annotation, enable auto
Yeah.
configuration.
Okay, so have you, what's your deployment strategies in your current project?
We migrated from Jenkins to Jenkins 2, and we
Okay,
use Jenkins pipeline where we have to configure our branch and we can do continuous integration and continuous deployment. I'm making
okay.
use of the Jenkins pipeline,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be deploying my project into the OpenShift, which helps me deploy the project into the OpenShift
So
environment.
you are using which version control? Git?
Which version of
Which version control? GitLab or GitHub or
Git,
any other?
Git,
Okay. So you have
GitHub?
knowledge, GitHub. So you have knowledge on these Git and all these things.
Yeah, I do have knowledge.
Okay. So how do you manage merged conflicts? In,
So every sprint, when I try to after making changes, when I try to pull
mm-hmm.
and merge the changes into the development branch, which will be a
Okay.
master branch, there will be other
Uh-huh.
changes made by the other developers in the team. I
Okay.
when I after pulling the master branch into the local environment,
Mm-hmm.
we say when we say git merge, the
Mm-hmm.
conflicts will be occurring. I usually resolve merge conflicts manually, or sometimes I'll have to connect with other developers to understand what changes they made in the current sprint.
Okay. So have you used Tortoise Git?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I
Okay.
usually use access from my terminal, or we can use git bash.
Okay. Can you explain the rebase process and its advantages over merging in Git? Okay, so basically, rebasing in Git is the process of moving or combining a sequence of commits to a new base commit. Uh, it's like telling a story in a more linear and clean way. By rebasing, we can update our feature branch with the latest from the main branch without creating additional merge commits. This keeps the project history neater and more straightforward, making it easier to understand the progression of changes. And the advantages over merging is that it results in a cleaner, more linear project history, which simplifies troubleshooting and code review by avoiding the clutter of merge commits.
Okay,
Okay. So, which editor you use for your current project?
I'm using IntelliJ.
IntelliJ.
Yeah.
And you must be using Maven.
Yes.
Maven. Okay. Okay. So how can we optimize a Maven build for a large project? Okay, so have you heard about Dockerization? Like we can do something
Yeah,
related to.
Docker and Kubernetes is for containerization of the project. In Docker,
Mm-hmm.
we create an image of the project by making use of the Docker file available in the project. It creates an
Mm-hmm.
image, and the image will be into put in. A container can be created on top of the image, and we can deploy the container where it will have everything in one image.
Okay.
Each image will have a unique signature, so it will be
Okay. Okay.
useful for multiple deployments. I mean, we can have multiple instances of the project
Mm-hmm.
by using the containerization.
Okay. So, do you know about Maven lifecycle and its phases?
Hmm, not, I don't know the
Okay.
life cycle, but I know how it is used as a build tool.
Okay. So what's the difference between Maven clean and Maven install?
Maven clean, Maven install makes compiles the pounded XML file and makes sure all the dependencies are reinstalled. And
Okay.
clean is we if we have the current previous instances running, then we can
Mm-hmm.
do to avoid that impact on the current instance. We have to do a Maven clean before we build the project.
Okay. Okay. And now moving back to our Git things. So what's the difference between Git clone, Git pull, and Git fetch?
Git clone is for the if the repository is not available in the local.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
we are cloning it, if we want to make it in the available in the local environment for the first time, then we can use Git clone.
Okay.
When we after cloning the project, if we want to make sure that we have the most recent version of the
Mm-hmm.
repository available from the remote repository,
Okay.
then we have to do git fetch.
Okay. Hmm.
And what is the
Okay.
other one?
Git fetch.
Yeah,
Okay. So basically, Git fetch downloads remote changes without merging them into the local repository.
mhm.
Okay. No worries. So, like, do you know what all servers are there in the Spring Boot application? Like, what all services are provided by Spring Boot application? Like, one is Tomcat, right? And
Yeah,
can you name some other servers which are available in the Spring Boot application but are not default one? Because the
but
Tomcat is
are
a
not.
default one.
Tomcat is the default embedded server in the Spring Boot, but we can configure other servers uh, like Ruby, JBoss, and
Jetty.
JT. Yeah,
Hmm. So how, let's say if I ask you to disable the existing Tomcat server and enable the new server, so how would you do that?
I think I'm not 100% sure. We have to make some configuration changes to make
In which file?
uh, in the in the build file.
Okay.
We have to add the
We have to
dependency.
exclude the
Yeah,
Tomcat
we have to
dependency.
make some changes in the application dot properties also for the address of that port
Mm-hmm.
of the server.
Okay. Okay. So have you visited Make My Trip app ever?
Sorry, could you please repeat that?
Have you visited Make My Trip app on your mobile
Make my
phone?
trip.
Make My Trip.
I think long back I installed it once to make a flight reservation.
Okay. So you know like what Make My Trip do. Like you know what Make My Trip helps to the community, right?
Yes,
So my voice is clear, right? I mean, it's a
Yeah, your voice is clear. I think something wrong with my laptop. I sometimes voice goes down.
oh, okay. So, let's say you already visited Make My Trip app.
Uh-huh.
How would you design the schema for the similar app? Let's say I ask you to design a schema for the to clone the Make My Trip app. So, what tables would you use? This is the first question.
I think we, as the flight reservations have to be changed, can be changed continuously. Then we have to fire the services. We have to call the services continuously and
Mm-hmm.
concurrently. For that way, for that, rather than a database, we might need a distributed system where
Okay.
we can fetch the data continuously, like messaging tool like Kafka or
Mm-hmm.
SHQ. And the end of the day, if the data has to be stored somewhere for all the reservations, so like for example, if we have flight reservations, we have to
Mm-hmm.
put all the flight reservations available in
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah.
table. From there, we have to fetch the data and render the data in the based on the search. We have to provide the bring the results back where hashing makes more sense for searching.
Okay. So, what tables basically would you use to create the schema? What major tables? Like there is one table
Flight
would be for
reservations is one reservation.
users, one would be flights, one would be hotels.
Yes, and for the reservations that have already been made, those have to
Mm-hmm.
be persisted some in one table, and the reservations that are available to book have to be
Okay.
available in the other table.
Okay. And one might be for bookings, one might be for reviews, payments, holiday packages. So I think these are some of the major tables that someone should wait while cloning the Make My Trip app or making such similar app. Okay.
Yes,
Mm, okay. So, which Spring Boot version you are using in your current project?
I'm using Spring 3. Spring Boot.
Spring PM, what's the latest version going on in the market?
When I try to create an app in Spring Initializer, the recent version available is Spring 3, I believe, which is a standard version. I'm not sure if the
Okay.
fourth version is released out in the market.
Okay. Mm, and which Java version?
We're using Java 12, but I haven't been
12.
through the updates of all the features available in 12. But I'm good with Java 8 features.
Okay. Yeah, okay, Karthik. It's done from my end.